Yo, so I'm gonna just talk about the weapon banner that's coming out next. If you don't know, the new weapon banner is actually coming out pretty soon. Right now it has 15 hours left, so the weapon banner should be live for the Asia server in around a day or so. So, if we go back to notices, just ignore the mail. If we go back to notices, they showed like the new weapon banner that is coming out, and then here is the weapon banner if you haven't seen it already. So for the 5 stars, we have Wolf's Gravestone and Staff of Homer. And as for the 4 stars, we have Lithic Blade, Lithic Spear, Lion's Roar, Sacrificial Bow, and the Wit Sith. So should you guys be summoning for this banner? I'm leaning towards yes, but that's the short answer, and I'm gonna elaborate on why I think that it is. I would advise you guys to summon on this banner. Alright. Okay, first of all, let's look at the 4 stars, okay? Let's just ignore the top 2 first, and go through like the 4 stars that we have in game currently. Lion's Roar. It's not really that widely used. You can use it for someone like Electric Cutting, for example. But honestly, this weapon right here is good for Electric Cutting, but there are better options, and like not everyone has a cutting, so like it's not like the most versatile weapon. Moving on, we have Sacrificial Bow. Sacrificial Bow isn't bad if you don't have like Stringless, for example, or like or you don't want to build out like a Favonius War Bow, because Sacrificial Bow basically makes it so that you can have multiple casts of your E's on your like bow characters, obviously, since it's a Sacrificial Bow. So this can work on someone like Fischl, for example, because once you throw down your E, once your E hits and stuff, it can refresh your E cooldown so you can get your E back quicker. Or you can slap it on someone like a Venti. But honestly, if you have Stringless would probably be slightly better, but Sacrificial Bow can be a replacement. But in terms of raw damage dealers, I don't think Sacrificial Bow is that great. It might work on Ganyu, I don't know. But yeah, that's about it for that. But these aren't really like the weapons that are currently in game aren't really the main attraction for this weapon banner, but I'll elaborate. The Wit Sith is actually pretty good because, I mean, even though it has an RNG element to it, like a RNG aspect to it, it is still pretty good if you're like free to play and you don't have like the widest range of catalysts. Like if you don't have access to even the battle pass, for example, you wouldn't be able to get a Solar Pearl, which is probably like the best 4-star all around catalyst out there. But I would say the second best 4-star catalyst that is available in the game right now would be the Wit Sith, because like it's just very versatile. You can get Elemental Mastery, which isn't that bad, and then you can get like attack and stuff. And the substat is crit damage, if I remember correctly, which is really good, really solid substat. So yeah, Wit Sith is a really good free to play option. If you consider a 4-star gacha weapon free to play, then yeah, it's a really good free to play option. Alright, the main two 4-star weapons. I'll look at the 5-star weapons later, obviously, but I'm gonna talk about the 4 stars first. These two weapons are not currently in the game, Lithic Blade and Lithic Spear, and I'm gonna tab out and you guys will be able to see what they do. Alright, Lithic Spear and Lithic Blade are the same like skin line, I guess, the same type of weapons. So their secondary stats, right? Their secondary secondary stats are both attack percentage. It is constant across all the weapons. And as for the passive, for every character in the party who hails from Liyue, the character who equips this weapon gains a 7% attack increase and a 3% crit rate increase. This effect stacks up to 4 times. So I believe this is refinement 1. So if you have a full party of Liyue characters, then this would stack up to 4 times, which means that you would have a 27% attack increase on top of the base attack increase and a 12% crit rate increase. But this is refinement 1, because yep, it says it right here, refinement 1. But if you manage to pull on this weapon banner enough, you can get this passive up to refinement. If you can get it up to refinement 5, you'll be getting 11% attack and 7% crit rate per stack, which means that even if you're just equipping one character from League, you're getting this amount of stats already. But if you somehow form up a team with 4 League characters and you have a refinement 5 weapon, you'd have 44% bonus attack and a 28% crit rate increase. 28% is huge, by the way, if you guys aren't aware. Let me just go to Honey Impact again and then go to, like, I'm just going to name a 4-star crit rate weapon that comes to mind. I'm going to just show you guys the Black Sword, okay? The secondary stat for the Black Sword is crit rate, okay? But at level 90, it gives 27.6% crit rate as its secondary stat. The Lithic Blade passive gives you 28%, so it's actually higher than the secondary stat of the Black Sword already. You're getting a higher stat in the passive. On top of that, you're getting an additional 44% attack. That's huge. And like at level 90, that attack increase is 41.3%, so you have a 41.3% attack and then a 44% attack on top of it, and then on top of that you're getting a 28% crit rate. Same thing goes to Lithic Spear, because it's the same thing. The passive is the same, so yep, 7%, 3% at refinement 1, and then 28% and 44% attack at refinement 5. So yeah, these two have like the same passive, obviously, because they are both Lithic weapons. And if we were to look at like comparison, right? If we were to compare their base stats, Lithic Spear 44, okay, 44. If you look across all the 4 stars, right? For Black Cliff 42, Crescent Pike 44, 41, 41, 44, 42, 44, 44, 41. So you can see how like the base attack for Lithic Spear is actually the highest out of all the 4 stars. It is the same as like the highest, you know, so technically it's the highest as well. So you'll have the highest base attack out of all the 4 stars. Obviously it doesn't compete, like obviously it's lower than the 5-star weapons, because 5-star weapons have higher base attack like by default, so you can't really do much about that. But you get a shit ton of attack percentage though from both the secondary stat as well as the passive, so it kind of makes up for it. As for Lithic Spear, if you look at comparison of the base attack against other polearms, it has 44 as well. Wait, hold on. wrong one, hold on. Wait, did I have 2 types of Lithic Spears? Wait. Yeah, but yeah. The passive is the same, obviously. Yeah, 44% and 28%. I don't know if I showed 2 taps with Lithic Spears in them, but comparison for Claymores, right? 42. Okay, I mean for the Lithic Blade, right, isn't the highest. So I guess Lithic, yeah, I guess isn't the highest for the Lithic Blade, but it's still pretty good, because if you compare it to others, right, it's the second highest, I guess. The highest would be Royal Great Sword at 44 and Prototype Archaic. But to be fair, like the, what's it called? The passive is way better though. Like this Prototype, okay, let's look at this, right? Because nobody really uses the Royal Great Sword. Like let's be honest, like the passive isn't that great, cause the crit rate isn't permanent and it just gets removed. So I don't think that many people use the Royal Great Sword. We'll just look at Prototype Archaic because it's the free to play option anyway. So if you don't know what Prototype Archaic is, for some reason, it's actually Prototype Eminus, but they changed the name for some reason. So yeah, it's Archaic now. And the passive makes it so that if you don't already know it, makes it so that there's like a 50% chance to do like a huge attack damage, right? Like physical damage. No, it's just attack damage to opponents in a small AoE. So yeah, enemies in a small AoE have like they after every 15 seconds they take like a huge chunk of damage. Like this number can shoot up to like extraordinary amounts. Like I think like max boosted I've seen this proc do like 100k or something. Like max boosted like super conduct and then the domain with like 75% physical damage increase. It has done like 100k before I believe. Uh, but Lithic Blade is very consistent in terms of having a constant increase of 28% crit rate if you have it at refinement 5. But to be honest, most people aren't gonna have it at refinement 5, but you're still gonna get like what 12% crit rate increase. Archaic prototype archaic wouldn't have that 12% wouldn't have that 12% crit rate. On top of that, you'd have like, I'm just looking at refinement 1 right now, you wouldn't have like the additional 28% attack, which in terms of like everything, if you do the math right, Lithic Blade kind of beats out um prototype archaic in general like DPS terms. So yeah, and plus I would argue that it's easier to refinement 5 a Lithic Blade because prototype archaic obviously both weapons require a certain amount of RNG to pull. But if you were to throw in like 100 pulls or so into the weapon banner, you might pull like 2 to 3 copies of Lithic Blades. But prototype archaic, I know there are people out there who have been playing since day one that haven't gotten like a prototype for like the claymore, like a claymore prototype since like the start of the game, because like the drop rates for prototype weapons are actually like so low that yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you guys haven't even gotten one copy of like a prototype for like claymores and stuff so if you are willing to pull a decent amount on the weapon banner, then you probably have more refinements than the prototype archaic. And some people would have used the prototypes to build like White Blind, for example, for Noel. So, like, I would recommend pulling for just these 2 weapons, Lithic Blade and Lithic, what's it called? Lithic Spear, I think. Yeah, Lithic Spear. Alright, moving on to the 5 stars, the main attractions. Wolf's Gravestone, I don't think I really need to elaborate that much on Wolf's Gravestone. I mean, it's Wolf's Gravestone. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what it does. Basically, it increases your damage. And basically, if you hit an opponent with less than 30% HP, you grant all party members 40% attack for 12 seconds, which is really good. Since you can basically slap it on like a Claymore character. It doesn't have to be like a Diluc or like a Razor, your typical Claymore DPS characters. You can slap it on like a Beidou, for example, and then make her a support Beidou. Let her hit an enemy that is under 30%, swap back, and all your characters gain a 40% attack increase. That's massive. You can slap, like, if you're building her for support, you can slap a 4-piece Noblesse. You get like the attack bonus from the 4-piece Noblesse proc, and then you get the proc from Wolf's Gravestone, and then you swap back to your main DPS, and then they just get a massive increase in damage. So this is a great weapon when it comes to main DPS, like for Deluxe and stuff, Deluxe Razors, but it can also be amazing for supporting your characters, which is why Wolf's Gravestone, in my opinion, is like top 3 best weapons in the game right now. But obviously the with this banner comes the new weapon, the Staff of Homer. So yeah, most people I would assume would be summoning on this weapon banner for Staff of Homer. If you don't know what it does, crit damage is a secondary stat, and then the passive makes it so that it increases your HP by 20%, and then it provides an attack bonus based on the wielder's max HP. So obviously this means that if the wielder has a higher amount of HP, then the user will be provided with a higher amount of attack bonus. So what you want, so like the characters you equip on, you ideally want to have like a decent amount of HP, so they'll benefit from this passive as much as possible. And then when the wielder's HP is less than 50%, the attack bonus is increased by an additional 1% of max HP. So once again, it really scales off the HP, the max HP of your character. So if your character has a higher amount of max HP, then your character will benefit more lah. So yeah, the secondary stat is crit damage, which is amazing because like you can't really go wrong with more crit damage or crit rate. Like ideally crit damage, like in my opinion. But yeah, the passive is really good for Hu Tao and Zhongli in particular. I don't know how it's gonna match up like against the Primordial Jade Spear in terms of characters like Xiao or like Xiangling. You gotta see like the numbers in game when the weapon comes out, and then we'll see like how much it does in comparison to the Primordial Jade Spear, because currently I believe it's the best weapon for like Xiao, so we gotta see how it fares up. But in terms of Hu Tao and Zhongli, this weapon is basically built for them. I would say especially Hu Tao, but it is amazing for Zhongli as well. If you're looking into pulling Hu Tao, right, and you wanna like maximize her damage, you wanna pull for this spear as well. Reason being, right, Hu Tao's damage comes from her max HP. So basically, the more HP you get on her, the better, the more damage she'll do. And this weapon basically makes it so that the more HP you have on your character, the more damage you do as well. So it fits perfectly with Hu Tao. And on top of that, right, you wanna have a 5-star weapon on Hu Tao ideally if you wanna min-max her damage. That is because once again, she scales off HP, right? Like Hu Tao as a character scales off HP. The more HP she has, the more damage she has. But the problem with her HP scaling, right, is that it is capped by 400% of her maximum base attack. Which means that if you are trying to min-max Hu Tao, you would like to have a 5-star weapon ideally, because 5-star weapons would have higher amounts of base attack. And if you do not know what base attack is made out of, it is your character's like raw attack, excluding artifacts, just the attack he or she gets from her levels, like up to level 90. Addition on top of like the weapon stat, like the base attack from the weapon. So you're getting the base attack from the character itself, the raw stats of the weapon itself, and like the base attack from the weapon. In terms of raw stats, if you're still confused, example Amber, level 90, right, her base attack is 223. So this is just a base attack, not including artifacts or anything. So you really wanna have like a 5-star weapon, ideally Staff of Homa, because once again this basically synergizes with her kit perfectly. You wanna have like the highest amount of base attack on your 5-star weapon, since you can't really like change the base attack on your character itself, because every character has its own cap and you can't really go past it. Artifacts, like attack percentages on artifacts, do not affect it at all. So yeah. So it is amazing for Hu Tao because it's tailor-made for her. On top of that, it's amazing for Zhongli because Zhongli, if you guys should know, he also scales off HP massively, so this would also benefit him greatly. So yeah, if you guys are not really interested in Hu Tao and you wanna like strengthen your Zhongli, like this spear is amazing for him as well. So yeah, I don't want to drag it on for much longer, so I'm just gonna end it off here. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.